Now, we heard earlier from the owner of a popular Johannesburg wine bar about their decision to close up shop in one business to save another. It's a difficult decision that countless businesses are grappling with as they struggle to survive in the economic pressure cooker created by the coronavirus lockdown. But when is the right time to call time on your business during these uncertain times? Let's pick the brain now of Andile Khumalo, the founder of I'm an Entrepreneur. He joins us via Skype from here in Johannesburg. Andile, always good to speak to you. Thank you for making your brain available, as always. Now, the last time we spoke about the need for businesses to pivot. And during these times, there is a big need for that, to see how you can pivot your business structure to meet the needs that this lockdown period or these uncertain times have swept up. But we all know not everybody was able to do that. Some pivots work, some don't. How difficult is it to start that conversation or even just the thought processes towards perhaps it's the best time to close up shop now and to start afresh?
You know, Marcel, first of all, thanks for having me. But, you know, it's such a difficult decision. It's obvious that we entrepreneurs tend to get married to our businesses, particularly those that we birth. At least for the guys, it's probably the closest thing to giving birth to something. So when it comes down to making the decision that perhaps, you know, it's gotten to a point where I can no longer see the light at the end of the tunnel, I can no longer see the success that I once envisaged, and I may have to finally close shop. It's an extremely difficult decision. You pour your heart and soul into a business, you pour essentially your career because you're never going to get the time back. And of course, lots of savings, lots of hours, lots of sacrifices, and to now face the decision that it may very well all shut down, and often by no fault of your own, is a really, really tough thing to take. So there's a very big maturity, a very big kind of mental state that one has to be in to even be prepared to kind of let it go. And you almost have to be at that point where you know and believe that it is actually the best decision for yourself as a human being and potentially for your family, for those of us who've got families, for you to kind of move on.
Now, the business owner that we spoke to earlier, they closed a wine bar in Johannesburg, and he said a part and parcel of the decision was to protect other parts of their business and to perhaps be able to support some of their staff for a little while longer. Now that's when you've got a business that has those push-pull factors. But for others, they're depending on what they've plunged their life savings into. They're living on the couch. They've moved back with their mother to just try and keep the business going. But these really are unprecedented times. These aren't just normal economic pressures. Is it also an emotional or mental thing where you actually have to make peace with the fact that it's not you? These are really unprecedented times, and perhaps that will help you to make peace with this decision.
You know, I believe certainly that the only time you should ever consider giving up in your business is when you've absolutely done everything in your power to make it a success, and you no longer believe that for whatever reason, whatever circumstances are, whether it's customer preferences, whether it's just dynamics in the world, whether it's technology, whatever it is, you no longer believe that the circumstances around which your business is trading will make it successful. And I think COVID-19 is smack in the middle of that. It's come as a huge surprise, uninvited guest. Nobody anticipated it would happen. It has now happened. It's probably going to change the world for the rest of our lives, certainly. Yes, of course, I have faith that we are going to find a vaccine and we'll be able to treat the disease. But the impact that it's had on our lives and how people will likely behave may very well fundamentally change certain businesses. So in my view, for as long as you still believe there's a chance, I think you should keep going. But the maturity to kind of face the reality and face the facts that there is no pivot that might work for you. There is no technology that's going to get you out of this. The nature of your business is such that it's just been disrupted probably for the rest of its life, quote unquote. Maybe it's a time to walk away. And often, Marcel, entrepreneurs struggle with that because it feels like giving up. You know, emotionally, it feels like you've thrown in the towel. Sometimes it's the best thing you can do because you may very well move on to other things. Remember, the failure of the business is not the failure of you, the individual. So you may very well move on to something else. And maybe it's a good thing you should, because maybe whatever you're involved in just is not likely to be successful. So for me, for as long as you're convinced that it isn't likely to be successful, absolutely drop it and go and find something else, something that will thrive in this new normal, something that will work out in this new way of living, as opposed to kind of being a slave to this thing because, it's your baby, you kind of birthed it, and you're really trying to fix something that's actually unfixable if you had to look at it through a lens of somebody who's honest.
Now, Andile, sorry, Tony here, just a quick one. Going forward, I mean, what do we learn from all of this from a small business perspective, from SMEs and so forth, in terms of making provision? Because now we've learned, we never thought something like this could ever happen. What's the takeaway?
For me, one, reserves. That's the unfortunate reality of small businesses. So we generally don't have the reserves to kind of, ride the wave or the tough times. And that's why you find with listed companies, Tony, they can quite easily go to the markets, they can raise rights issues, and institutional investors will give them billions of rand. I was reading one of the tourism companies raising, I think, 1.4 billion rand to just help them trade at a time where hotels and the casinos are no longer running. So they're able to cover that time because they've got the listed markets, they've got the formal institutional markets and shareholders that they can go and raise money on. Small businesses don't. You are the shareholder, you are the market. It's you, family, and fools and friends, as they say. So, if there's one thing we've all learned is the ability or the necessity of keeping reserves in your business. Try and make sure that you build a balance sheet over the years. Don't spend everything you make because there may very well be times and things that happen like this pandemic that might need you to just fund yourself for a period of time so that you're able to come out on the other side. So maybe those are for businesses that are not necessarily dead in terms of model, but they don't have access to the markets they normally do because of the restrictions that COVID-19 has created. But we all have to hope that it'll end sometime. So you can be a business that can survive this time if you have the reserves to kind of see it through.
Some great advice there. Andile Khumalo is the founder of I Am an Entrepreneur. Gosh, it felt like a therapy session. Thank you so much, Andile. You probably spoke to the heart and soul of many people grappling with these economic times and whether or not they're making the right decision for their business right now. It was a tough decision.